Let's get it. Welcome back to another edition of the Hampton Show. Joel, how are we feeling today?
I'm feeling great. I just watched a bunch of great NBA basketball last night. And on this episode, breakout team, I got my breakout team. And an overreaction, I got my overreactions too. So this is going to be a good show.
Going to be a very good show. Like Joel said, today we're revealing one overreaction for every NBA team season so far. But first, we're going to reveal our NBA All-Breakout Team. These are players who have had a really hot start to begin the season, kind of their breakout. We're going to have 5 players at 5 different positions. We're going to go point guard all the way down to big men. My point guard and the first player who made my NBA All-Breakout Team. It's probably the best guy on this list, the best example of this team, and it's Tyrese Maxey. He's averaging 37.5 points per game. His first 4 games, he has had 39 points, 43 points, 28 points, and 40 points. This was a guy who, back in the summer, I remember was in the same sentence as Cam Thomas, according to Joel. Now, Cam Thomas has had a pretty good start. He's had a 40.0 assist game, but Tyrese Maxey is doing it all and is winning. That is the difference. There's no hate towards Cam Thomas on the show. I feel nothing towards him. It's just the fact that Tyrese Maxey was on another level and now definitely is on another level. And I got to give him my props. He's my starting point guard for the NBA All-Breakout Team.
Don't mention a 33-point and 9-assist game from Cam Thomas. I understand you need an agenda to push about Cam Thomas. Tyrese Maxey has been nothing short of incredible, and he's on my All-Breakout Team as well. The Sixers have tremendous guard play with him, Edge Coleman, Quentin Grimes. And my all-breakout team, I listed 2 per position because I feel like they need recognition. Tyrese Maxey, you already said everything that needed to be said. But my other point guard is Ryan Rollins. Ryan Rollins from the Milwaukee Bucks. He defends at a high level. He's bringing them offensive juice, and you see the team that Giannis has around him. We were much lower on it coming into the season, and it's still to be determined what they're actually going to do, but I think that they have added shooters to their team. The young players are ascending, and a player like Ryan Rollins, who I think should be the starting point guard moving forward, he gives them consistent play on both sides of the court, which is something that they haven't had even when Dame was there. So I think Rollins was awesome, and he was great against my Knicks.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought his name up. Milwaukee, I mean, this was a team who started 2-9 last season, and now you flip-flop to them where they are now at 3-1. That's a great start for them and very unexpected. I want to stick with the Sixers, though. Last year, when Joel Embiid missed the time he did and Paul George was absent the time he was, this was a throwaway season. It was a 25-win season. That's just not the case this year. And you're right, Tyrese Maxey is a huge reason why. VJ Edgecombe is a huge reason why, but I do have to give you your flowers. You banged the drum for Quentin Grimes all summer. He has been huge for them. They got him for cheap. Him coming off the bench and doing what he has done and the scoring output that he has had is a big part of it. And I think Philly fans can just sigh a sense of relief because it is not over. They do not rely on the health of Joel Embiid anymore. They don't rely on Paul George being better than he is or even actually playing a basketball game. They have enough and they have a direction moving forward. And Daryl Morey deserves a lot of credit. Everybody called about that number 3 pick. I don't know what the offers were. It was rumored that they were shopping it around for a month and a half, but after all the shopping, they didn't sell it, and they took VJ Edgecombe, which ultimately was the right move. My shooting guard on here is another guy that's just as obvious as Tyrese Maxey. It's Austin Reaves. He's averaging in the 30s thus far. He had a game winner on Wednesday night, and this point output is not just because Luka is out. I mean, before Luka got hurt, he was averaging 26 points per game. So he's had 51 and 41 in 2 of the last 3 games that he has played. Austin Reaves is definitely worth an all-breakout team, and he may be a max player, Joel.
The Lakers were in a conundrum where they have a lot of offensive talent, but they don't have much defense. And ultimately, that led to Austin Reaves being rumored to be the odd man out there. But given his contract, given how good he is, it's just hard to find any trade that if you're the Lakers, you feel comfortable with when you're shipping out Austin Reaves, and who knows if you're going to be getting back a player that is even remotely close to how good he is. Because offensively, he's a star, and we always talk about upscaling your game and can you be consistently productive with more opportunity when defenses are game planning for you. And we saw Jalen Brunson do that going from the Mavericks to the Knicks. I think Austin Reaves, if he had his own team, could do something similar. I
Mhm.
think that if you look around the league and you look at teams that need somebody offensively, they need a guy offensively. Austin Reaves is a very intriguing option. He's going to be a free agent this offseason. You're going to mention the heavy hitters. I'm gonna go with the under the radar guys, just so we have more names to mention. At shooting guard, I'm gonna go with AJ Mitchell. AJ Mitchell has been outstanding for OKC, and I think OKC's biggest weakness last year was that they only had two ball handlers. That was Shea and that was J Dub. But outside of that, they didn't have anybody they could really trust to initiate the offense, and that's why they drafted Nikola Topic. But you look at this season now. AJ Mitchell has overtaken that role. And as a second round pick, he's looking outstanding. He can drive to the basket. He can play make at a high level. And it's crazy how the disparity between where a first round top five pick guy was drafted in like Reed Shepard
Yep.
and a second rounder in AJ Mitchell. And if you were to tell me today to
Yep.
pick between AJ Mitchell and Reed Shepard, I would say I think AJ Mitchell's the better basketball player.
100%. 100%. I think AJ Mitchell, his name deserves to be shouted out in this. It's just a testament to what Sam Presti continues to do with the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think whenever I'm thinking about small forwards, I'm taking a page out of your book. You and I were texting about fantasy basketball recently, and you said you picked up a guy on fantasy waivers. His name was Kaishan George. He's averaging 20 points through 4 games. That is my small forward on this team. And I like our depth. If we were to make a 10-man rotation with these 10 guys, this is a playoff basketball team. I like where we're starting off.
I like Keyshawn George a lot. I did pick him up in fantasy basketball. My backup to him would be Jaime Jaquez. The
Mm.
Miami Heat are one of the better offenses in the NBA. They don't set a ton of ball screens. They're moving the ball. They're passing it around. They're setting more off ball screens. They're cutting well, and they're getting out in transition and they're running. I think the best thing about their offense is their drive and kick game. They generate a lot of catch and shoot opportunities, and they have a lot of role players that can knock down shots. And Jaime Jaquez is just a relentless force attacking the rim. He provides a mismatch advantage when he's guarded by smaller players. He has strength. He's crafty. He's not the most athletic guy, so he has to be more savvy and skilled, and he has good footwork. And Jaime Hawkins has been awesome. When Norman Powell has not played, he has overtaken that offensive role and been the number one option, and he's been great.
For sure. For sure. And whenever I'm thinking about power forwards and centers with the big man, I know Alex Sarr is a center, but I had to include another guy at that position. So I put Alex Sarr in my power forward. This is a guy who had 31, 11, and 5 against the Philadelphia 76ers on Tuesday night. He's averaging 19 and a half. And I think outside of Reed Shepard, we can make a case that we're going to feel a lot better about last year's draft class after their second season this year. And I think Alex Sarr is going to be a big reason why. I'm excited to see where he goes. Is it going to stick around 19 and a half? Is it going to dip a little bit? Is it going to get up towards 25 points per game? But Alex Sarr definitely deserves a nod. 4 games in, averaging damn near 20 points a game.
And I like the fact that he has just been attacking the basket more. He's not settling for outside jumpers. It's kind of similar to the Victor Wembanyama story where
Mhm.
Wemby has really taken down that 3 point volume and he's just been relentless attacking the cup. I'm gonna go with Mataz Buzelis,
Love this.
who top three talent, and with the Bulls never tanking, they have to get lucky in the draft. They have to either get lucky with the lottery or lucky that a very talented player falls to them. And that was the case with Mataz Buzelis, who was looked at as a top three talent. It was just if that jump shot could come along. And with Chicago, he fits their play style perfectly. He's great in transition. He's a good slasher. He's a good cutter. And with how they like to play, unselfish, Josh Giddey being the lead decision maker and constantly moving the ball, he benefits from that a lot. And he had a big time game last night on Wednesday against the Sacramento Kings. So Mataz Buzelis is looking great for Chicago.
Yeah, through the first week or so of the season, now we're 8 days in, and Chicago Bulls are atop the Eastern Conference. Who would have thought 4-0 start for them? It's the first 4-0 start since the 2021-2022 season. If they win later this week and go to 5-0, it'd be the first 5-0 start since Michael Jordan was in uniform in Chicago. So Matas Buzelis definitely deserves this nod there. My center is the most obvious one of them all. expected something great from Victor Wembanyama, but I remember speaking about this in the summer, and one of my bold predictions was he would average over 30 points per game, not just 26, 27, 28, but over 30, and he has done that. And what I did not predict is him simultaneously averaging 5 blocks per game. This is a guy who's almost had a triple double on blocks already. I believe he had 31, 10, and 9 blocks the other night, and he has been truly incredible. Yes, this was a predicted breakout, but I think it was one, faster, and two, the quantity and size of this breakout has been more than anybody expected.
There's going to come a point in time where players just stop testing him at the rim.
Yes.
It's already happening with the Toronto game where he didn't have a high total of blocks, but if you watched it, the players consistently were fearing to go up on him. And that's what's going to happen with Wemby. He patrols the paint and he allows nobody to get off an easy shot. Players are scared to shoot inside there because you think you have a good floater or a layup, and then he just comes out of nowhere and blocks it. So he's just a freak of nature. He's definitely the breakout player of the year, just taking his game to another level to where he is in the conversation to be the best player in the world. The other center I had was Walker Kessler on the Utah Jazz. His game has evolved. He's becoming a much more complete offensive player, which I think is great considering that he's also awesome on defense. But Walker Kessler, for whatever reason, he's been in trade talks for most of his time in Utah, but I don't think he's ever been somebody that Utah should trade. He's clearly a centerpiece of their team, and with how he's playing, he is trying to get paid this offseason, and I think he will.
I think he will too. And I want to talk about Utah's offense for a minute. Obviously, Lauri Markkanen dropped 50 the other night, but I was not expecting this team through 4 games to have the third largest points per game total in the Western Conference. They're averaging 126 points per game. That is incredible and speaks to Will Hardy. It's like everybody needs to be reminded how good of a coach he is. I said, and I had written down later in the podcast, I'm like, Will Hardy is the best coach to ever have a 34% or a 38% win percentage as a coach. Like, that does not equal what he is as a coach. And he's done a great job, and I've enjoyed watching them through the first couple of games. I'm glad you mentioned Walker Kessler, bro.
They just don't have the talent to consistently win.
Mm-hmm.
But with the draft and with tanking pretty much and getting high picks, hopefully they can finally build a competitive roster. So Will Hardy has a good team to coach, and even their top pick from this past draft, it's early, but Ace Bailey has not looked good at all.
Yeah, he has not looked good, and despite that, the Jazz has still had good vibes. And it takes patience from the top down, too. Their owner, Ryan Smith, has constantly rewarded Will Hardy, and same with Lauri Markkanen. It takes patience that, hey, they haven't won the lottery, but they're making the best out of what they have. And I think it's a testament to good ownership, and you see it in Detroit as well. I think back to Dan Campbell. You're the football expert on this show, but the way he started his tenure, going 0-8 and finally getting a win and getting kind of laughed at for crying after getting his first win as a head coach. And then they start, I think it was 1-5 the second year, and ended up finishing 8-9, knocking the Packers out of the playoffs in the second year. And the rest is history. They're the, contending Lions since then. It took patience in Detroit to build that. And I think it's going to take the same in Utah.
I agree.
All right, let's get into overreactions for every NBA team. We're going to start with the Atlanta Hawks. This was simple for me. They don't have a playoff caliber defense, and we should have seen this. This feels like one of my biggest regrets going into this season is not foreseeing what this defense is. They're 24th in defensive rating right now. It's why they have a losing record, and that's not going to cut it in the Eastern Conference.
I think they're a playing team. That's my reaction for them. I don't think they're that good, and the defense is an issue. But I also think the star player is an issue.
Yes.
I know that people don't want to touch on a Trae Young topic, but he's inefficient. He doesn't play defense. Even though you want to say he tries, he's still one of the biggest negatives on defense in the league, even with all that trying that he does. And I just don't see the Hawks ever reaching high heights with him as their franchise player. I would be very hesitant to pay him a lot of money. And given the fact that they have the Pelicans' first-round pick, I would be hoping you land one of those top-end prospects in the draft. And even if you fall outside the top 3, there are some good point guards in the draft, too, that can maybe replace Trae Young. but I just don't see it. I just think that a team's identity starts with their star player. And if you don't have a star that is a good defender, it's hard to build a great defense around them.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you would rather have John Moran as your franchise player than Trae Young.
I think I would. I mean, I think Ja brings athleticism to the table. He brings elite finishing to the table.
Winning.
Trae Young doesn't. I mean, Trae Young is inefficient at the rim. Trae Young is inefficient from three. And I just don't think that that type of inefficient volume scoring is good for a team.
I agree. Let's move to the Boston Celtics. They lost their first 3 games and now have won 2 straight. They're at 2-3. I don't believe the last 2 games. I think Derek White will be traded. We expected a 9 or 10 seed from them, but that may not be possible. I know they've won their last 2, but with how as bad as they looked in those first 3 games, not being able to rebound the basketball and get the shots that they want. Jason Tatum's not there, so they can shoot 63s a game like they did last year, but they're not going to be the same looks. If they're not the same quality of looks because Jason Tatum's gravity isn't on the court, then that doesn't equal success from the three-point shooting line. They've had some great 2 games, but I'm just not buying it. And a lot of teams will be calling around Christmas and the trade deadline as well for Derek White. And I think they get an offer they cannot resist, specifically from the Houston Rockets.
I think the Rockets would be a great fit for Derek White. They need guard play. He'd bring that. I think they're getting a top 5 pick. I mean, I've been saying this since the offseason. I think they'd be foolish to not tank. And I feel the same way about the Indiana Pacers because when you don't have your star player, you're not competing for anything outside of pride. And in the NBA, you need talent. You know, who cares about pride? You need more talent. So I think that the Celtics, as the season goes on, they're going to position themselves to get one of the high picks and have a chance at cashing in on the lottery.
For sure. Let's talk about 2 teams now. The Nets, simply put, it's going to be the worst team in NBA history. This doesn't seem like a long shot anymore. I could see this team not even winning 10 games. That's how abysmal this squad has been. The Hornets, I think they're gonna have 2 all-rookie selections. Con Knippel and Ryan Kalkbrenner both have been good thus far.
For the Nets, I think Yegor Zemin isn't that bad. That's my overreaction. And during the draft, everybody was laughing at the pick, and I think that he brings a unique skill set for his size. He can pass. His form looks good. He's been shooting the ball well. And, for the top 10 pick, he's shown enough to where you're saying, he's not that bad.
To be fair, I don't think people were laughing at the Dimon pick. I think they were laughing that they actually used all of those picks. I think that's what people were chuckling at least me.
Everybody said that Yegor Zemin was bad, and it was a terrible pick. I mean, I look at everywhere that they graded draft picks, and he was always like a D or F.
Okay, that's fair. Maybe the rest of the draft strategy bled into it, but it is. Let's pump the brakes on Dimon. Been 5 games, whatever.
It's overreaction.
It is an overreaction. I get it. But the reaction is how bad they have been and how bad their draft strategy was. Yes, they might have. I hope they nailed 1 out of the 5 first-round picks they had. I would hope that would be my percentage of drafting would be at least 20%. So I'm not going to reward them for that.
Is it an overreaction that they're bad? No. We knew they were going to be bad.
It is an overreaction. They could be the worst team in NBA history. That's an overreaction.
Yeah, hey, you did take it the next step, so that is true.
I'm trying to be like you, Joel. Trying to be like you.
For the Hornets, for what I had for them is I think that they're going to be a top 5 offense this year. That's my overreaction for them. It's unfortunate that Brandon Miller got hurt. They play fast. They take a ton of threes. That's their motto. Charles Lee is from the Celtics cloth, so he's going to take a lot of threes. And when you have that type of volume and you have good shooters, Con Knippel has been really good for them as a rookie. Then Colin Sexton off the bench, like they have enough talent there to be efficient from 3 as well. I think they're going to be one of the better offenses in the league.
Yeah, top 3 points per game in the Eastern Conference. Another team we didn't expect to be there. Their problem is they just can't stop anybody. I feel for Brandon Miller as far as the injury stuff because he is such a free spirit, nice player, nice guy to work with. But these injuries, man, I just hope he continues to find some health through his career. The Chicago Bulls, I said they're going to have an all-star because of their record. And you can name whoever you want it to be, Josh Giddey, Modest Buzelis, whoever you want to say, but they now have wins over Detroit, Orlando, and Atlanta, and those are three teams we thought were Eastern Conference contenders. They're good wins. They're not playing nobodies and have just some record beating up on bad teams. They have played decent teams.
They're going to lead the NBA in assists per game. That's my overreaction.
Mm.
They pass the ball. They're third in passes made. They're third in assists per game. They're first in drives by a wide margin per game. And they are last in isolation possessions. What Bulls fans are seeing from this iteration versus the years past is completely different. When they had DeMar and Levine, it was a lot of isolation. It was a lot of one-on-one basketball play, and that's how they generated offense. Billy Donovan has found a formula that works for this specific team, and I think it got unlocked with Josh Giddey being the player that he is. And I think Josh Giddey's the head of the snake when it comes to this offense because he's awesome in transition. He's great at hitting look-ahead passes. He's a good decision maker. He's constantly moving the ball. The ball doesn't stick with anybody on this team. They're constantly moving it around, and they found out how to win without having a quote-unquote star on their team, and it's working.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And without the star power that they have had and are able to share the basketball like they have, and it's converted to wins. Staying in the East, let's talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers. My overreaction is despite that, they had a bad loss on Wednesday night, I still project them to have a top three defense in the NBA, and they should. I think Lonzo Ball provides something Ty Jerome did not, and that is defense. He's just got to stay healthy. Having a team with Evan Mobley on it, you should have a really, really good defense. And I think despite, an up and down start, they are going to have that.
They aren't a true contender. I just don't see it with Cleveland. I don't. You can't buy me in on them. Last season, everything went right for them. Win streaks, double-digit win streaks, 60-plus wins, and they still couldn't do it.
Yeah.
What are they going to do for me to buy in on them now? There's nothing. I'm not in on them. I don't think they're a true contender.
We talked about this in the offseason. Last year felt like their best shot. The Celtics were knocked out for you. And you couldn't get by the Pacers. The Pacers were an amazing team. It was an historic run, but you have to win that series. Everybody deals with injuries, and you have to capitalize on what was in front of you, and they didn't. And it feels like, maybe they're not contenders this year, but I can't wait to talk about the New York Knicks. We'll talk about the Dallas Mavericks first because I'm sticking with that contender theme you were talking about. They're 100% not a title contender, a West contender, or a playoff contender. Putting this on Cooper Flagg, this ball handling role on him, never made sense from the start. It doesn't make sense now. They've had a couple of wins now after starting 0-3, but I don't feel any better about them beating the Indiana Pacers without 5 rotation players than I do whenever the season started. Their roster doesn't make sense. Anthony Davis is already leaving games early, and who knows how long he's going to be out now. I would be very, very frustrated if I was Jason Kidd.
The Dallas Mavericks. Now, I have a hot take, and this is not even overreaction. I think this is what they should do. If the Dallas Mavericks came to me tomorrow and they asked Joel Moran for his advice and his services, I'd tell them this, and I look them dead in the eye when I say it. I would say what the obvious is. They made the worst trade in NBA history by trading away Luka Doncic for an injury-prone Anthony Davis, who, once again, not surprising, he got injured again. They need to fire sale. They need to trade Anthony Davis. They need to trade Kyrie Irving. They need to trade older vets on this roster and acquire a treasure chest of draft picks to correctly build around Cooper Flagg for the future. That's what they need to do. If you have Anthony Davis on your roster for too long, the value is going to sink. And as the value sinks, they're not going to get anything back. And you look at the Mavericks' current situation of draft picks, they don't have a lot of them at their disposal. So as Anthony Davis and Kyrie age out, Cooper Flagg is going to be stuck with a roster that is not good because their cap space was spent on aging veterans and they had no picks during those years to recoup around Coop. So if I was the Mavericks, that's what I'd do. I think Nico Harrison is too prideful because trading Anthony Davis signals I lost this trade badly. If you trade Anthony Davis a year and a half after you just traded Luka Doncic, actually you trade him less than a year If you trade Anthony Davis less than a year after you traded Luka to go get him, what does that say about you? What does that say about the move? It's waving the white flag. So that's why I think that they're going to try to prolong this as much as possible. But the real pathway on how to go about this is clear, but I don't think they're going to do it.
I hear you. I think the more realistic thing is what we talked about last week. We talked about this fake vision that Nico Harrison has, and to complete that fake vision that he has, what is more likely, Joel, is that you call your old friend Rob Pelinka, who you secretly discussed a trade with in private in a coffee shop in Dallas, Texas for months on end, and you ask him, what does it take? What does it take to get LeBron James out of street clothes and in a Dallas Mavericks uniform? And what it would take if I was Rob Pelinka is Klay Thompson, PJ Washington, Gafford, or Lively, take your pick, and a little bit more salary cap filler. Because if I'm the LA Lakers, I would rather have PJ Washington, Klay Thompson, and Derek Lively on my team than LeBron, the current version of LeBron James. That fits Luka and Austin Reaves better than LeBron James. That's the more likely thing. I'm not going to sit here and argue it makes more sense for the Dallas Mavericks to go even more all in. All I'm going to say is that is more realistic possibility with the way that Nico Harrison thinks. I think that is more likely than what you just said.
I understand your sentiment about it, but I think that they're just digging themselves into a deeper hole. Because if the LeBron, Kyrie, and AD thing doesn't work out, then you're really done. You don't have any young players around Cooper Flag. It's going to be a disaster. And I mean, Nico Harrison botched Luka Doncic. So it would not be surprising in the least if he botches Cooper Flag as well.
No.
But right now, that's kind of how I'm feeling about Dallas, that their situation is not conducive to a young player. And you're seeing it now. They have him playing in the wrong role. Everybody's hurt. It's just a weird situation for a young player to be in.
Yeah, for sure. And not to mention Nico's Nike history, LeBron's Nike history. There's a lot of possibilities that I think this is a real actual possibility that this happens. So let's talk about another Western team, the Denver Nuggets. Simple. I think Aaron Gordon has a chance to be an all-star. He had 50 on opening night. He's averaging 25 this season. I think AG's got a shot.
Aaron Gordon?
Yes.
I don't know about that. He's cooled off since dropping 50.
He's cooled off. I understand, but this team is 3-1. I can see them having a record that competes with OKC. And we're looking at an Atlanta Hawks situation. Whenever they had 4 All-Stars go to the All-Star game over a decade ago, I think this team can be so good that you can look outside of just Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic.
I think the league is way too talented to give out sympathy all-star awards.
They're not sympathy all-star awards.
In the modern day, because back then Kyle Korver was an all-star, but he really shouldn't have been. Maybe in that time, you look at the three-point percentage, you can buy into it. But like this year, there's so much talent on even the bad teams. It's like if you're picking between Aaron Gordon and Lauri Markkanen, it's like an easy decision. Even
what is your overreaction, Joel? What is yours?
For the Nuggets, my overreaction is the fact that Cam Johnson wasn't an upgrade over Michael Porter Jr. That's my overreaction.
I think the number one sentiment that was not talked about with MPJ, yes, he broke down in the playoffs, but this is a guy who played 70-plus games his last 2 seasons. He was extremely durable. Cam Johnson has not been that. Yes, he has not lived up to the hype, but Michael Porter Jr., he's been dropped down a lot of empty calories for Brooklyn. It's 100% respectable, and when he's healthy, he's a better player than Cam Johnson, so I'm not going to sit here and argue that.
Yeah, they traded him for financial reasons only, and that allowed them to improve their bench. So that was good. Cam Johnson is in a slump, and if Cam Johnson isn't shooting well, he's not doing much of anything else.
My thing is, though, like the Nuggets didn't need Michael Porter Jr. Like Jokic and Jamal Murray's enough. The bench, I think, yes, I agree. It was financial reasons, but I think it was the right move still.
I agree with you.
All right, Detroit Pistons. I just put they're going to miss the players they had last year, Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway, and Dennis Schroeder. All 3 of them are gone. Clearly, it has not been smooth sailing thus far. They've won 3 out of 5 games, but they've lost to some teams they did not expect to lose to. So I think they're going to miss those guys long term. And the Golden State Warriors is the 10th team on the list. I just put this is their last real shot at a title. They feel like true contenders this year.
I think that they are contenders. It's my overreaction. I think that they can win the NBA championship this year.
I wish we would have got to see them play against OKC last year, and I think they're going to have a better shot at beating them this year. I think they have a real opportunity to give OKC a headache, just like Indiana did and just like Denver did. That's why there's just too many traps for the Thunder in this year's playoffs for them to repeat. We have not seen it over the last 6 years. I think OKC's an amazing team. They're off to a great start, but as far as like what they have to go through this season, it's even better than it was last year.
I agree. I think that the pathway to the West and making it out of it is tough, but I really only look at three teams that I think are contenders:
Go ahead.
OKC, Denver, and Golden State.
Okay. Houston Rockets were not in that list, and they're up next. I said that Kevin Durant's not the best player in the Rockets. Alperen Şengün is. That's my overreaction.
My reaction is that KD and Şengün are one of the best duos in the NBA.
Okay. Indiana Pacers. It's not a gap year, but a tank year. That is my overreaction.
They're going to get a top 5 pick.
All right. The LA Clippers. They're too old. That's my overreaction.
They're going to have and be up there for the most disappointing team this season.
Brings us to the halfway point. The LA Lakers will be forced to pay Austin Reaves a max contract.
Austin Reaves becomes an all-star.
All right. Memphis Grizzlies. Cedric Coward will make a run at Rookie of the Year. I'm not saying he's going to win it. He's going to make a run at it. He dropped 27 against Indy. He's averaging damn near 17 points a game. He looks phenomenal.
He is going to be a top rookie in the class. That's my overreaction.
Him in person, Joel, I swear to God, he can scratch his knees without even bending over. Like, his arms are that long. His frame is something I've never seen on a Grizzlies team. We've needed athletes and guys built like him, and it's something we never had. That's why I had an infatuation with Mikal Bridges for so long. It's just something we needed, and he fills that role perfectly, and he has a higher ceiling than Mikal. So I'm super excited. The shooting has been phenomenal. We haven't had a reliable three-point shooter next to Ja Morant. You can point to Luke Kennard, but Luke Kennard was a guy who cared about his percentage more than he cared about the team, so he would not shoot it. And Atlanta Hawks are starting to see that. I'm just glad we have some shooting next to Ja and a guy that can defend like Cedric Coward.
I mean, you definitely didn't have that wingspan with Desmond Bane.
Not at all. It was, you know what Ja called him? T-Rex arms, bro. It's crazy. But yeah, Cedric Coward will make a run at Rookie of the Year. Let's get into the Miami Heat. Overreaction. Spo is by far the best coach in the NBA.
My reaction to the Miami Heat is the fact that Jaime Jaquez wins Most Improved Player.
You made a video about them recently, didn't you?
I did. They're playing great basketball.
I remember getting a text about that too. Milwaukee Bucks. I said that they're going to break the franchise record for threes in a season. They're shooting 40 a game right now.
I think that this Bucks team is better than any Milwaukee iteration with Dame Bucks team.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Minnesota Timberwolves. Nickeil Alexander-Walker was more important than we thought. That is.
I mean, Anthony Edwards is hurt. Let's slow down right there. Slow down.
Rob Dillingham is also hurt. He has a broken nose.
I think the Timberwolves need to start thinking about trading their older players. And I'm looking at Rudy Gobert. I just think that Rudy Gobert is keeps regressing every year. He's getting worse on defense. He's a terrible offensive player. I think that Minnesota, like, they really, really need to get younger around Anthony Edwards, and I think it starts with Rudy Gobert. Like, I understand they made back-to-back conference finals, but like, if you look at it now, would you rather Walker Kessler or like Gobert on the team? And I would rather Walker Kessler, even if you had growing pains.
For timeline purposes, yes, but you can't sit here and tell me to calm down that Anthony Edwards is out and say they need to trade Rudy Gobert. I mean, like, all of these defensive liabilities are now funneling into Gobert, and he struggles in that. We saw it with Donovan Mitchell. That's why they did not work out in Utah. I think all of this is falling on Jaden McDaniels now, and Rudy Gobert is not able to pick up the slack.
Yeah, I just think that they have Jaden McDaniels playing the role of like a Drew Holiday, where I think that his size is better equipped roaming the paint and helping Gobert patrol it, but they don't have the point of attack defenders to stop anybody. So that's why I think that what they need is a defensive-oriented point guard. Derek White, Alonzo Ballish, Drew Holiday, those type of players I think would pay dividends for them.
Yes, that's where we can find some common ground. Pelicans are next. I put Zion's not going to qualify for individual awards again. He's already missing games. He played against Denver last night. We saw what happened there. Pelicans are one of the worst teams in the entire NBA, and they continue to prove it on end. CJ McCollum, that deal made no sense. Jordan Poole, I watched him go for 19 in the first half on opening night against the Grizzlies, and then got shut down by a rookie in the second half. Jordan Poole is a guy who can shoot you in it and will also shoot you out of it. The fact that CJ McCollum was an expiring contract this year that might have had value at the deadline, and you trade that for Jordan Poole, a guy with 2 years left. You lock yourself into that. You not only do that, you make the trade with Atlanta. If I'm Zion Williamson, I'm asking for a trade. I don't care if I go to anywhere that wants to build around me. I'm just ready to get the hell out of New Orleans. And I'm not a Zion guy. Obviously, I have Ja behind me. The only person drafted in front of Ja was Zion. I think that the Pelicans would draft Ja at this point, but Zion has not been healthy, and when he is, the team building around him is completely incompetent, and it continues to be.
I just think that there's nothing to overreact to when it comes to the Pelicans. Uh, we knew they were going to be bad, pretty much. It was a bad fit, not that good of a roster, a bad trade to send their first to the Hawks in 2026. This is just a team that has not won a game yet, and the vibes are just down, as it usually is with them.
All right. This is where I want to open the floor up to you. The New York Knicks, I just put it's going to take longer than expected in Mike Brown's new system. This was a team with a lot of expectations, a lot of championship predictions, especially on this show as well. So, what is your overreaction to your New York Knicks, Joel?
The cat trade was the wrong move.
You go
I
to
think that I believe that they would be better with Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo right now.
Do you think they would be better with Tom Thibodeau?
I don't think so necessarily. No, I think that we're playing our bench more, but the bench hasn't been as good as I thought it would be. We're playing them more, but Landry Shamet is the one that's really been the best off the bench. I like Josh Hart off the bench, but he's getting way too much minutes with the starters, especially in the closing lineup. But Jordan Clarkson is what he is. Yabusele's hurt and wasn't playing well when he did play. And those were the two major free agent acquisitions, and they really haven't been that good. I just think that when the Knicks made the Cat trade, they sacrificed depth for a star. And I think Cat and Julius Randle are very similar. Not players, but tiers. I think Julius Randle is an all-star, an all-NBA caliber player who what he brings is another ball handler that can play make and that can drive and kick and can be another offensive initiator. And when you look at what the Knicks are struggling with right now, they're struggling with somebody outside of Brunson that can initiate any type of offense. With Randall, that wasn't a problem. He consistently created open three-point looks for everybody on the team. And with the spacing of OG, Mikal, and Brunson, I think he would have been great in that role. And then Dante DiVincenzo was like a certified sixth man of the year candidate type of player. So I think that Cat is fine, and I love the fact that we made the conference finals with him. But at this point, he is what he is as a player. He's inconsistent. And right now he's dealing with an injury, so I'm giving him some grace, but he's been playing really poorly. And I didn't like the trade for Cat in the moment. And even when I think about it now, I still think that the Knicks probably would be better off with Randall and Dante.
Yeah, every time we talk about the Knicks struggling, it's going back and forth and regretting the Mikal trade, and all the picks that were tied up in that are regretting the Cat trade and Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo. I hear you right now. Having DiVincenzo and Randle sounds better than Karl Anthony Towns, but he is injured. Karl Anthony Towns showed up in the postseason. I think he's going to continue to get healthy and be better, but like we can't jump back and forth of like, oh, the Mikal trade, I wish we had all those picks. Oh, I wish we still had these players. You don't. And I think the overreaction is that Mike Brown will take more time to put his fingerprints on this than we expected. And I think be patient. If I'm a New York fan, just be patient. You have more talent than anybody in the Eastern Conference. You actually have a guy who will play your bench now. Your defense needs to step up. Your offense needs to step up. And I think they're ultimately going to be fine. But I'm not going to sit here and say that they shouldn't have made a trade that ultimately took them to the Eastern Conference Finals and farther than they've been in a half century.
Well, so did the Timberwolves. They made the conference finals too with Randall and DiVincenzo.
Yeah, that's true, but it's also because of Anthony Edwards was a large part of that.
Yeah, and Brunson was the biggest part of our run.
Okay, that's fair, but you can go in and continue to say this, but Mitchell Robinson ain't Rudy Gobert, bro.
Mitchell Robinson's impact is felt. There's no doubt about that.
It is.
And I think that when he gets healthy, it's going to be a boost because right now we don't have center depth or a good rotation outside of Cat. Exactly. But I look at the Knicks right now, and of course, the Mike Brown system is going to take time to implement. I know that. But the overreaction is the fact that, this is a flawed pairing with Brunson and Cat. They don't fit together. And this feels similar to my eighth grade self watching the Knicks and saying Carmelo Anthony and Amari Stoudemire don't really fit together. We have two star players that are better when they're not on the floor together. And the reason why that's the case with the Knicks is because they don't play defense. Cat is a bad defender. Brunson's a bad defender. You need somebody to hide their weaknesses, but they both exasperate their weaknesses. And offensively, Brunson is not the initiator that Cat needs because Cat needs to be set up, and Brunson is primarily looking to score first. So I just think that it's not that good of a pairing. Last year they had a negative net rating. This offense is going to take time to implement, and Mike Brown is going to get more time, but this is about overreactions, Mr. Jack Hampton.
I couldn't imagine you in eighth grade at the lunch table talking about this. There was
About the
nobody.
Knicks,
Yeah, there was nobody winning a debate against you, was there?
and during that time, my time was spent debating Miami Heat fans who I hated and actually deluding myself into believing that we could beat the Miami Heat. So
Yeah,
that's what my time was spent
that's more like
doing.
it. Yeah.
But, looking back at it now, of course, the Knicks, they lacked that type of team. And the Melo and Sotomayor, they just weren't a fit. They weren't.
Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and argue that Cat and Jalen Brunson is a perfect fit. I just don't know what other options there is. You don't want to call Philly about Joel Embiid. That's something you don't want to do.
Well, there's
Karl
none.
Anthony Towns, what value does he have? You can go back and regret that trade all you want. Hindsight's 2020, but I still would have made it, especially with what Cat did in the playoffs. And you can talk about Julius Randle going to a conference finals with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Cat did it back-to-back years with two different teams. That is an impressive feat. I don't care if he was the first, second, or third option. I'm not going to sit here and have any regrets about that. But let's get on to the team who won last year's title, and that's the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think they're going to win more games than last season. That's my overreaction, but it doesn't convert to a title.
They're going to win 70 games.
Do you think they have a shot at 70? What is it, 74? Break the record?
They do. I don't think they're going to do it. I think that's too difficult, but
Yeah.
they have a shot at it.
All right, Orlando Magic. I said Desmond Bane cannot fix the offense. It's amazing because when this trade happened, yes, everybody liked the Grizzlies' return, but it's like objectively the Grizzlies got worse. And you know what? Desmond Bane, I was on the side that he would fix their three-point shooting woes, but where I disagreed with a lot of the NBA media is that he was a good defender. And he has had a problem defending for the last 2 to 3 years now, and he has not fixed. He has not been that third scorer that we thought he could be. And flip-flop on the Grizzlies side of things, Orlando sent the 2026 Phoenix first-round pick in this deal, along with 4 other first-round picks. One of those Orlando draft picks was traded up this year to get Cedric Coward. So not only did they get KCP, Cedric Coward, but they also have still the crown jewel in their back pocket. This trade looks like they lost it miserably so far.
Yeah, they traded a lot of first round picks. My overreaction to the Magic is that there's actually a graph, there's a correlation of the usage of each offensive player by quarter. In the fourth quarter, Paolo receives the most usage offensively on their team.
Here we go.
And there's a graph that shows in the first, second, third quarter, their offensive rating, it tanks when they get into the fourth quarter. It's not a coincidence that it's because Paolo dominates the ball in the fourth, and that's why their offense tanks. My overreaction is that after this season, they're going to have to pick between Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. And I hope they make the right decision. You know what I think the right decision is. I don't think they know what the right decision is, but Franz is the better offensive player. He's the better playmaker. He is the better driver of the basketball. Paolo Banchero's shot diet is still extremely inefficient, and I just don't think that he is an engine of a great offensive team. And that's why we see the Magic are a bad offensive team, because he's not an engine. He's the first overall pick. Is not the reason for their elite defense every year, and is one of the biggest reasons why they have an inefficient offense, because he doesn't contribute to winning offensive basketball. He takes bad shots, and when they go in, it looks awesome. But Franz is the better offensive player, and that's why when he's on the floor and he has most of the usage, they're a better offensive team.
Oh, sure. Well, I literally, in the summer, I banged the table about Paulo Banchero being better than Franz Wagner. I'm not going to sit here and lie on camera whenever I'm texting you off camera that I had a fantasy basketball draft. And I got to the inflection point where it was my turn to pick. I can't remember what round it was. There was Paulo Banchero still sitting there, and there was Franz Wagner sitting below. And I slowly injected into my veins all of the statistical info and all the poison you had gave me to believe that Franz Wagner is a better player than Paulo Banchero. And I was thinking fantasy-wise. I'm thinking efficiency. I ended up drafting Franz Wagner over Paulo Banchero, and whenever you're telling me about that chart, it doesn't surprise me with how inefficient he is. You and I disagree about a lot, but I'm starting to come around on the Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner thing. We I think we can agree on that Paulo Banchero has a higher ceiling, but if he continues to make the same mistakes over and over and over again and not improve on the things he needs to improve on, then Franz Wagner is ultimately the better choice. I'm not to the point where they need to make a pick between those two yet, but early this season, starting 1-4, I think the Desmond Bane trade they will ultimately regret. That is my overreaction to this season thus far.
They already lost a trade. That's
Okay.
it. I don't. There doesn't need to be an over explanation about it. They lost because they gave up 4 firsts, and Cedric Coward is going to be just as valuable as a player as Desmond Bane.
Yes.
That player alone. If you told me that the Grizzlies traded Desmond Bane for a younger version of him that's a much better defender and more active and has higher potential, I would say that's a win. Plus, they get all the picks on top of that. It's clearly a win for Memphis. And I think the Magic, they went all in on a duo that doesn't fit. They don't complement each other's play style. I'm just saying, you could get a lot for Paolo Banchero.
That's true. And I also, not to mention the Cedric Coward thing, I saw a draft simulation on Twitter. The number one pick was a 2026 Phoenix first rounder that was given up by Orlando to Memphis. The second was the Orlando pick they also included in that deal. You're talking about 3 first rounders that Memphis has in their back pocket now, 2 of which could be a very, very high lottery pick. So
yes,
you and I see eye to eye on it. And yes, I think you could get a lot for Paulo Banchero as well. So it may be time to make that move.
They just have to avoid drafting Zaire Williams, and they'll be good.
Well, they traded up, and it's crazy because they're kind of rewriting history as we speak. If I remember, they drafted Zaire at 10. They got Cedric Coward around that same range as well. So I think that is erasing their old mistakes.
That's good.
All right, Philadelphia 76ers. This is Tyrese Maxey's team now, period.
I think they can make the conference finals if they're healthy.
In this Eastern Conference, wouldn't be surprised. Phoenix Suns, we talked about this. Dillon Brooks is going to set a career high in attempts. He has shot 24 shots, 18 shots, and 17 shots on a team with Devin Booker. He has yet to have a game where he has shot under 17 field goal attempts. Do you want to guess his field goal percentage, Joel?
It's probably 36% or something.
It's crazy. It's 37%.
That's what it's going to be. I mean, my reaction to the Suns is that they're actually solid. They're actually solid. They're a fun watch this year. And, maybe
they're 1-4.
They're 1-4, but they're one shot away from being 2-3 and beating your Memphis Grizzlies. Devin Booker had a chance to win the game, and they came back in that fourth quarter.
Those 2 shots he should have not shot. He had a fantastic game. Those were rushed. He should not have taken those.
And Mark Williams, I mean, he's looking great back-to-back.
He's playing against Jock Landale. Can we get serious? They're not a solid team, bro.
If Devin Booker just made that shot, they'd be 2-3. I like the way they play. Obviously, they lack talent, but overall, this is just a team that, they're going to be bad, but it's just whether or not they can be a fun sort of bad, not a miserable watching experiing. And from the Suns that I've watched,
they have a role player shooting 24 shots. That's not fun. What I've seen,
they're not a miserable watching experience. I watch the Suns and I like it. I say, okay, Jordan Ott has this team playing hard. Dillon Brooks was a big reason for their first win, their only win of the season. He was clutch down the stretch. So I don't like this Dillon Brooks disrespect when he adds to the culture and he adds to the defensive identity of this basketball team.
Dillon Brooks didn't play last night, and that's why they almost won. That's why they almost beat the Grizzlies.
No, that's why they lost. If he played, he would have won.
No, because Dillon Brooks has taken a combined 59 shots in 3 games. He's averaging 20 shots per game, Joel.
You just look at efficiency, man.
Yeah, Mr. Franz Wagner over here.
You don't look at impact.
Yeah, they ain't no impact whenever you're shooting your team out of games like that. And that's why they almost beat the Grizzlies on Wednesday night. Portland Trailblazers, my overreaction for them is Jeremy Grant will be traded. It was hard to imagine that contract getting dealt, but now, I feel like he's played up to it at least a little bit.
Yeah, I think so as well. I don't really have nothing else for them, so I'll ride with yours.
All right, the Kings, I put they're officially incompetent again. The Raptors, I said exactly what we thought they were, and that is mid. Utah Jazz, I said Will Hardy's the best coach to ever have a 34% win percentage, like I said earlier. And the Wizards, I said Alex Sarr will make a run at most improved player.
Well, I think the Kings are the worst team in the league. I think the Raptors should fire sale their team. I think the Jazz are going to have a top 10 offense. And the Washington Wizards, I think that Alex Sarr can be an all-star.
For the, okay. Maybe in the Eastern Conference, yeah. I can see that for sure. The Spurs, I put Victor Wembanyama might be the best player in the world. And there's a but that comes after that. The better that they play, the bigger that this De'Aaron Fox problem is. That's all.
We haven't even seen Fox play yet. Relax.
I'm just saying Victor Wembanyama, I'm being positive, might be the best player in the world. It's amazing. But this De'Aaron Fox, if they continue to play like this, the bigger and bigger the Fox problem gets.
What I remember this offseason was an overreaction that I had, and I said the Spurs can be one of the 6 best teams in the West, and that's because of the leap Wemby's going to take, and also De'Aaron Fox. They're already undefeated. Fox makes this team better. Regardless of what you want to believe, Jack Hampton, he makes this team better. So when he comes back, an undefeated team bringing back an all-star, we're in business now. I think that the Spurs are going to be a top 6 team in the Western Conference. And not only that, but I think they have a chance of making the conference finals.
4 games in, and we have the Spurs are going to the conference finals.
If you look at the history of every all-time great player, even early in their career, if you are so exceptionally great, you can lead a team far in the playoffs. We saw it with LeBron James in 2007. We saw it with Luka Doncic when he made his first conference finals and faced the Warriors in the conference finals, when he led a team that was underwhelming, that was starting Dwight Powell, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Tim Hardaway Jr., Reggie Bullock. We saw him lead a team to the conference finals. If you are one of those dudes, you can do it. And if Wembanyama is one of those dudes and has an all-star in Fox next to him who averages 28 points per game in the playoffs.
Not on the San Antonio Spurs. The problem's the fit. And also, you're buying this 4-0 start. Do you know who they have played against? The Dallas Mavericks, the New Orleans Pelicans, the Brooklyn Nets, and the Toronto Raptors. Mavs, Pelicans, Nets, and Raptors. What is that? A combined 3 wins and 4 teams? And they have the Miami Heat on Thursday.
Okay.
They haven't played anybody. Can I see them against OKC? Can I see them against Houston?
Can you see De'Aaron Fox before you say it was the wrong move?
Can I see them against a good team, please?
You're not waiting to see De'Aaron Fox before you start penalizing a move. You start talking trash about the move. Can you wait and see De'Aaron Fox?
Just play the Trailblazers at this point. Just play somebody, please. Because I want to see them play against Houston, against Steven Adams and all their rotating Alperen and all the rotating bigs that they have there. I think, would be a matchup nightmare for the Spurs. I think the Spurs are going to be great. They're going to be a top 6 team. I'm sitting here agreeing with you, but the conference finals, I just need to see them play a team that's even close to 500.
Okay. I guess that's fair. Can you wait and see De'Aaron Fox play before you say it's bad?
Joel, it's objectively...
You don't need to see that. You don't need to see that.
Objectively obvious that Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper have a higher ceiling and a better fit with this team than De'Aaron Fox does, especially for the money.
Stephon Castle averaging 5 turnovers is a better fit for the team. I got it. Okay, I've heard it all.
I'm not saying long-term, that is the problem. You keep trying to put it on this season long-term for Wemby's championship title run over the next 5 years, having a 32-year-old on the books in the year 2030 making 33% of the cap is a problem, and you cannot sit here and convince me otherwise.
Long-term, brother, Wembanyama, you just said, can be argued as the best player in the world right now. He needs a co-star next to him right now, and that's De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, and the co-star can be. I just think that if they were to pay somebody, it should have been somebody better than De'Aaron Fox. That's all I'm going to say. Nobody was willing to give him $223 million. They did it. You and I, we sit here before we get on the podcast and we talk about business all the time. And bad business is not negotiating with somebody when they have no other options. He had no other options.
You're saying they should have paid somebody better than De'Aaron Fox. Okay, the Knicks should have paid Cat paid somebody better than Cat. They should have paid Giannis or something.
Let
I
me
mean, come
ask
on,
you a
what are we
question.
doing here?
Whenever we have ad partners, we can negotiate for a higher price when we have more options, correct? Whenever we have no options, we just take whatever they got.
I just think that you are being too critical of Fox. Just watch him play. Wait until he comes back and plays. I'm begging. That's it. That's it. If he doesn't fit, we'll talk about it all day long. But you just told me the teams that they've beat that have not been good. So therefore, you think that their 4-0 start is a fluke. That's what you basically told me. It's a fluke that they started 4-0.
Bro, I'm not saying it's a fluke. I am just saying it has been against the Pelicans, the Nets, the Raptors, and the
Okay,
Mavericks.
so it's an
That's all I'm
underwhelming
saying.
start, which
I don't know
means
why that makes you feel anxiety about that. I'm just reading who they've played against.
Okay, but you, based on those teams, you believe that it's an unimpressive group of teams. Now,
Yes.
with De'Aaron Fox, they have the ability to beat those more impressive teams even more so. So
Do they
when
know?
yes, they do. It's De'Aaron Fox.
I mean, he played 17 games for this team last year, and it was 19 points a game on 44% from the field.
He
That's
was
what we're
hurt, and
talking
he
about.
only played like 3 games with Wemby.
But he played 17 games total. He should be scoring more than 19 points if he's the all-star, all-NBA talent that you're talking about. You keep pointing to the playoffs 3 years ago with the Kings.
Are you taking into account a 19-game sample size over what he's done for the last 5 years? What he's done for the last 5 years has been 25, 6, and 6.
I'm not taking into account all the small sample size. I'm taking into account the fit, Joel.
He's an all-star.
Huge question.
Is Dylan Harper an all-star now?
No.
Is Stephon Castle an all-star now?
No, and you keep trying to bring it to this season.
Because
I'm not
it is
talking about this season. I'm talking about the future.
All right, but this season, he is needed.
Yes, he is needed, not for $50 million.
He is, I think. He's needed.
He's needed, just not for that bag. You and I are never going to agree on this, but that's where we'll end. Joel, appreciate you taking time as always. Excited that we're finally talking about real basketball. No more preseason predictions and all that other jazz. I'm glad we're talking about real basketball, bro. And as always, appreciate you taking time, dog.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on.